I love that. Crying in your beer songs. Anybody been crying in their beer lately? So we're on week 2 of the book study, and we're going to be looking about what it means to be problem-focused, to be crying in our beer all the time. So brief overview, if you're interested in knowing more about the empowerment dynamic and what I'm going to sort of highlight right now, you can take a look at last week's talk and the talk before to get a better sense of the overview. But we are talking about the dreaded drama triangle, right? Stephen Cartman came up with this model in the 60s. And in this model, you see the victim at the bottom, and the roles that get played around the victim are persecutor and rescuer. So the victim feels as if something is being done to me, that's why I'm crying in my beer. The persecutor would be, in that song, be the person who left them. The rescuer would probably be the beer. Right? And can you feel how everything is focused around the problem? Everything is problem-oriented. And so problem-oriented is also fear-oriented, and it leads us to very short-term thinking. What we're interested in is this vision, faith orientation, which gives us a much longer-term thinking. And so I shared this model of how Unity understands the evolution of consciousness. And we start off with this victim where things happen to me. We then maybe move to the victor, which things happen by me. I make it happen. I got it done. Not your divine self getting it done, right? But your personality getting it done. My fierceness, right? That's what's making this happen. And so the victor, when things happen by me, the victor and the victim, can you see how they want to keep flipping? Like, you don't want to be a victim, so you become the victor, right? And when you are the victor, you don't have a lot of patience for the victim. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. If I did it, you can do it. Any of that sound familiar in our culture? So both of those dynamics, they mirror the victim and the persecutor in the Cartman model. And they're fear-based. And what we're evolving towards is channel, meaning that things happen through me. That it's not my ego that is in charge, but I am aware that there is a larger context that is happening through my understanding. And then the as me is the faith, is the Christ Buddha consciousness. And this is what Jesus modeled for us. This is what Buddha modeled for us. This is what is available to all of us. This is our birthright. So the goal is to move from this fear-based understanding to the faith-based understanding. And notice how they nest in each other. So even though we may spend a lot of time, if we've been on this spiritual journey for a while, we may spend a lot of time in channel and in even as the Christ Buddha in our practice, anything can come along and trigger us, shoop, boom, and we contract back down into victim. Sound familiar? So David Emerald loves acronyms. Right? He loves them. So the first acronym that he gave us was DDT, the dreaded drama triangle, because it's poisonous to our relationships. The next acronym that he gives us in this second week of the book study is FISBE. Everybody say that. FISBE. So it's not Frisbee, it is FISBE. And what FISBE stands for is focus, inner state, behavior. What you place your focus upon impacts your inner state of awareness, and that will then determine your behavior. FISBE. Everybody with me so far? Okay. So I'm going to share a story. And some of you may have heard this story already, but you know how those moments in your life that change your understanding are like pivotal. So I keep coming back to this story. I was in my practitioner training at Agape, and they had us do an exercise. And do you see all those chairs? Agape had a sanctuary that was actually a sound stage that sat 1,700 people in its space. That's how many chairs they had. And so they had us do an exercise where the practitioners who were facilitating went in and rearranged all the chairs to a giant maze. And they created pathways through the chairs. And we were all blindfolded, and we were let loose in the maze of chairs. I did not have fun. I stepped into that thinking maze of chairs, okay, pathways, and I set a focus, which was to get through the maze. Seems logical. Blindfolded. So I'm stepping into this maze, and those chairs hit me right at my kneecap. And I kept banging into the chair, and banging into the chairs, and banging into the chairs. I wasn't walking along the backs of the chairs, which would have been nice and smooth. No. I was walking along and just repeatedly banging my knee against those chairs. And what started to happen to my focus is I started to get really angry, and I started to get really frustrated. And I started to spin a whole narrative about how unsafe this was, and about how these people didn't know how to facilitate a process. And at one point, I actually got free of the crazy chairs on my knees, and I felt hands take me by the shoulders and shove me back in. Because I had gotten free of the whole exercise, right? So they shoved me back into it. I must have spent 25 minutes we were in there. I was furious, fuming, continuing to whack my knees over and over and over again. The exercise finally ends, we go back to debrief, and I'm writing in my journal, like I'm literally tearing pages in my journal with how frustrated and angry I am. And the facilitator asks, so, what was people's experience? And all I hear is, oh, it was so amazing. It was so peaceful. I spent the entire 20 minutes up against the wall just feeling the carpet, because it was a soundstage. And, oh, it was so amazing. And I got it in a heartbeat. I had been surrounded by a sea of chairs, and I never thought to sit down. Never even occurred to me. Never even occurred to me to just stop and sit down. This is what happens when we become problem-focused, right? We place a focus on the problem, it creates an inner state of anxiety, and that drives reactive behavior. I was caught in reactive behavior. And so, is that such a bad thing? Now, in the case of my journey with the chairs, it certainly was not a lot of fun. But we have all learned how to cope and use this FISB to work with us when we're problem focused. So if the problem is unhappy with your weight, which is where I am right now, the anxiety that gets created is health issues. And that drives reactive behavior, exercise, diet change, which is great. That's healthy, right? Like, is that a bad thing? That I'm getting more exercise, I'm changing my diet? What happens when the problem no longer exists? The reactive behavior is going to stop as well. So the problem is gone. I lost the weight. The anxiety is gone. So the fuel for the behavior is also gone, which means that the exercise and the diet change are gone. Can anybody in here relate to this? So this is a degenerative cycle because the exercise and the weight stuff is back, well, then the problem returns. And that creates the anxiety again, which creates the reactive behavior. Can you feel this? So what we get caught in is called roller coaster results of a problem mindset. And that is where we are reactive, and we get results, and so we relax. And then we get reactive again. We get results, and then we relax. Can you feel how that never solves anything? We get caught in a cycle. So Einstein has said it, you can't solve a problem from the same consciousness that created it. Banging up against those chairs and seeing the chairs as a problem stopped me from being able to see and to even begin to comprehend that I could just sit down. I mean, it seems so obvious, right, when I say it, but I can tell you, I could not see it in that moment because I was so caught up in my reactivity. So instead of a problem orientation, what David Emerald is inviting us into is creator orientation. And the questions that you're asking yourself are, what do I want? You're working towards a desired outcome instead of reacting to the problems. And then the last piece is that we are anchored in infinite potential. So this is where our spiritual principles come into play. We are opening up the idea that there's a limitation to what is possible, the problem, and we are allowing ourselves to focus instead on something else, the vision. So instead of a problem-oriented setup that we have, what if vision is what we are focused on? And that vision then inspires us. It gives us inspiration. It gives us passion. And that passion and inspiration is what decides and supports the very concrete baby steps that we are going to take next. Can you feel how different this model is than being caught up in the problem orientation? So let's take the same dynamic. Health and vitality would be the vision. Right? My vision is about health and vitality. It's not about the actual weight. The vision is bigger than what the weight is, than what the scale says. So the inspiration is what's going to support my health and my vitality. Well, maybe I could cook at home instead of ordering DoorDash all the time. And maybe I could take a walk a couple times a week. Nothing huge. Nothing huge. This isn't about radical reactive behavior. This is about concrete baby steps that are building something to fulfill the vision that you are holding for yourself, and I will make that even larger, that we're holding for the world. So in this, life becomes a process of discovery, and it's all focused on what do I want, not on what's wrong. What do I want? What is possible for me in this moment? So there's a shift in focus from the bathroom scale and instead to a larger vision of my health. Energy, vitality, joy in how my body moves, strength. Can you feel the shift in that? Can you also feel how there's no anxiety connected to it? So this is a vision that will continue to call me forward. It's when I become problem-focused that I end up back in that cycle of relax and react, relax and react. So the creator orientation on a graph looks more like this. So it's not all going to be perfect. You're going to have ups and downs and ins and outs and all of that, but there is a steady, incremental movement forward all the time when you look at the trajectory. And this is how we bring about real transformation and real change. I love this from Captain Jack Sparrow. The problem is not the problem is your attitude about the problem. That is what we are trying to shift. It's not that we don't acknowledge that there may be a problem, but we are shifting our attitude that we have about the problem. So that a problem does not mean that we fall into anxiety and reactivity. A problem means that we sit and we listen to, what do I want? What is the vision that is being called forth right now? So the creator orientation, what do I want? Working towards a desired outcome instead of reacting to problems, and it's anchored in infinite possibility, anchored in the infinite potential that we actually all are. And that is how we go from feeling completely powerless, which is what the dreaded drama triangle is all about. Every role in the drama triangle, victim, persecutor, rescuer, on some level feels powerless. And when we flip that on its head, we actually can become powerful. The vision enables us to stand in something that is linked to our larger awareness of the truth of who we are, to the truth that what is possible is being arrived at, decided from within each of us. That is who we truly are. So creator, challenger, coach. That is what we want to be instead of victim, persecutor, rescuer. We want to be the creator, and all the creator, challenger, and coach are all interconnected. So if you're standing in creator consciousness, that means you are also standing in challenge consciousness for somebody else. And you are also potentially going to be a coach, someone who is not going to rescue somebody from their problem, but who can facilitate and coach to support their understanding of the truth of who they are. And this is also internal, to support your understanding of the truth of who you are. That's the empowerment dynamic that we're being invited to step into. Now, we have a challenger in our community. She is an incredible challenger. She is also an incredible creator. And she is a model for us all as a coach. So Uma Jesbatha has decided she wants to challenge the community. Are you guys up for the challenge? Yeah. Right? So she is challenging this community with a $20,000 matching challenge. Jess, are you here? Can you stand up just so we can love you? So in the creator orientation, what did Jess want? She wants to close the gap. As all of you are aware, or if you're new, you may not be aware, but now you'll be aware, that we have a gap between our pledged donations from Faith in Action and our actual budget. And Jess wants to close the gap. She wants to seal that up. And so that is the challenge, is this matching challenge of $20,000. Now, the last time we had a $20,000 matching challenge, we raised $72,000. That's blowing the lid off of what we think is possible. That is stepping into a vision. So can everyone step into this vision with Jess, with Uma, saying that we are going to close that gap? And that we're going to do it from a place of joy, we're going to do it from a place of love, we're going to do it from a place of participation. So just like last year, what we are urging is participation. Whatever for you is something that you can engage in this matching challenge with, the challenge is, are you willing to engage in it? Are you willing to shift out of needing a rescuer? Is Unity in Marin a victim? We are not victims. And the financial climate, is that our persecutor? No. We are shifting into a creator consciousness. And that creator consciousness says that there are certainly challenges out there, but each one of us gets to dig deep and listen. Let the vision pull you. What is your vision for Unity in Marin? What is your vision for the vitality, the longevity of this community? That is what Jess is challenging all of us to step into. Can we give Uma some more love? She came up to me after my talk last Sunday where I demonstrated people who are challenging, who are challengers in our world. She came up to me and she's like, "You can call me a challenger." And I said, "Okay, because you are a challenger." So this is the orientation we want to be in, vision-oriented, where there's no victim on the bottom. There is a creator at the top of this triangle. And off of that, we have these other roles that are possible to us of challenger, of coach. Can you feel how Uma is being all three of those things right now? She is modeling all three of those things, being a creator, knowing what she wants, stepping into it, taking active steps. She's being a challenger because she's saying, I'm not going to do it alone, because this community doesn't exist alone. We are all in this together. And she is a coach because she is modeling something about how we're all being invited to show up in the world. And if we see it in someone else, guess what that means? We got it. So if you're inspired by what Jess and Uma is doing, then it's you too. It is yours to also step into. What are going to be those concrete baby steps that you are going to engage with? And it's not just about engaging with it for Unity and Marin in our financial wholeness and well-being. What is being invited for your own life? Who are you being invited to be? If you weren't so problem-focused in your own day-to-day life, who would you be? How would you show up? What would it mean for you to truly be a creator? So let's take this into a time of meditation. I'm going to invite Jeremy to come on up here. Just invite you to breathe a little bit. That was a lot. But can you feel how problem orientation catches us in an ever-repeating loop? We're breaking free of that degenerative cycle, and we're stepping into something that is regenerative. Spring is the perfect time to be looking at what newness is seeking to arise within each of us. So we take a breath. We allow ourselves to get quiet and still. Whatever might have gotten stirred up, whatever mental activity, whatever heart activity, whatever physiological activity, just in this moment, just allowing there to be a quieting. The invitation is to listen past the habitual narrative. The invitation is to listen from that deep space. I'll talk more about this next week, but our victim yells really loud, and our creator whispers. So can we become still enough to listen to the creator that we all are? Allowing yourself to be free of that problem consciousness, touching the realm of infinite potential, that infinite possibility. That space, that place that is peace and love and abundance and wholeness, connection. And it is from this space that we just invite the question, what is the vision for my life? Who am I called to become? What is seeking to emerge? How am I being invited to step into creator consciousness? And let's just listen for that still voice for a few minutes in the silence. How good it is to be still and know that the vision of who we are is always speaking, guiding, sourcing, present, palpable, available, accessible in ways that we can understand. And that it is in our willingness to listen, to let go of that reactivity, the anxiety, the problem focus, and to allow the vision to drive, to call, to source us with inspiration and passion. One concrete baby step this week, what would that be? One thing you can do to activate that vision in your life right now. And just affirm within yourself that you will say yes to that one step. Being open to when that inspiration will strike. Resting in the faith that of course it will. And the emptier we may feel, the deeper we're being invited to quiet. To that place, that space in our awareness that is full beyond imagining. The overflow that is life itself. Allowing ourselves to release the worry and to anchor peace. And in agreement, we all say, and so it is. Amen. So our affirmation for today, I choose freedom over worry. I choose peace that passes understanding. Can we know this together? I choose freedom over worry. I choose peace that passes understanding.